Today's going to be a harder video. This is a video about grief and loss and how we all experience that in different ways. As my theme this month is all about ending things, we can't get through the December without talking about grief and loss. So let's talk about the 5 stages of grieving. In theory, there's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And we used to think that they were very linear, like they went in this very specific order, but actually that's not true. People's experiences are very different, and people get on and off those stages, sort of like the stages of change, which we've talked about in many earlier videos. This is going to be tough because actually I lost a client last month in November. They passed away very suddenly, and it hit me pretty hard. And therapists, I see a lot of loss, and I support people through losses, and for whatever reason, that losing a client took its toll on me. It was very hard. I had to use a lot of self-care and use my skills, the skills that I'm going to share with you today. So this is a pretty personal video, which is not totally like me, but I feel like it applies to therapy and the therapeutic process, which is what my videos are all about. So denial plays a big role, right? Our brains cannot quite compute that the person is gone, especially when it's sudden, even when it's, a sustained illness or a chronic illness and the person is older or elderly. It still hurts, but the shock and denial and confusion in your mind about someone who was there and then suddenly isn't is a big part of the early stages of grieving. And you might feel fatigued and kind of foggy and confused because your brain is trying to kind of come into a new reality that doesn't quite add up, where that person was there and now they're not. And as we move potentially into anger, and again, because I am listing them in an order, it just makes the video flow smoothly. It does not mean you're doing it wrong. You cannot grieve incorrectly unless it lasts for a sustained amount of time, an incredibly long amount of time. Otherwise, your grieving is spot on and the way it should be. But so we move into anger, and it might be at yourself or others. It could be at the world, the universe, right? So it could be external, being mad outwardly. It could become mad inwardly. You could become mad at the person that passed away, which is hard to do because you can't yell at them and you can't give them a hard time. So you get lost in your mind a little bit on the anger. And the next one is bargaining, which, I believe kind of flows through all of the stages, because the entire time your mind is negotiating and like, maybe if I close my eyes and wake up tomorrow, that person will be there. Or, if I make their appointment in my calendar, maybe they'll show up, that they're not actually passed away, but they are very much going to show up to your appointments. I don't know. But there's a negotiation that our brains do, and I've done this as well, is figuring out this new reality. And maybe if you can work through a time machine or some parallel universe, that you're able to pull that person in. And the next one is depression, because sometimes as you get closer to that last phase of acceptance and reality starts to set in, it can be really, really sad. It could be depressing. You might feel hopeless. You might feel some guilt. And the struggle between accepting reality and reality not being what you want it to be can often lead to depression. It's this push-pull challenge. And then finally, acceptance, where you can come up with some new patterns or habits. A new life emerges potentially, or new ideas, new thoughts, some new strengths all emerge as you begin to accept that this person is no longer with us. And so I hope this is comforting. I know it can be comforting for me as I work through the grieving process of having lost my client. And so I hope you heal along with me and this video all month long in December. So let's review. The 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And they don't have to be in one direction or the other, and you might go back through one before you get to the next, and that's okay, but it's all part of that journey, that really hard, very uncomfortable, very uninvited, unwelcomed journey, but a journey nonetheless. So thank you for tuning in. I hope this is helpful, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.